Well, it's Friday morning at RVN TV, and this is CEO Chat. My name is Joe Osmendi.
I'm Al Cini, and this is my favorite time of the week.
Mine too, but we have a great guest, and welcome back to Linda Descano.
That's why it's my favorite time of the week.
Absolutely. Executive Vice President of Havas, international public relations firm. Welcome back.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's so good to have you. Let's start in right away with the 5 communications for the COVID crisis, okay?
Absolutely. Well, we've been all navigating the COVID-19 pandemic for 6-8 weeks now. So it's not that it's something, brand new to us, but it's something that is evolving very rapidly and will continue to evolve over the coming months, potentially years. And we did an analysis of how the pandemic was really affecting communications, both how brands were talking to the consumers and what consumers wanted to hear. I think one of the things that became very rapidly understood was how important it was for brands to really adjust the tonality of their message.
Really?
And it's less about them, and what consumers want to hear is, how are you going to help me, right? And understanding that security, safety is top of mind for so many today. People are displaced in many cases from their jobs. So how do they access the resources that they need? And consumers are looking to hear from companies about, what are you doing for me as an employee, as a customer, as a member of my community? So companies that are adapting their message to really look at how they can contribute to a solution through product donations, through retooling their processes to make personal protective equipment, to sharing the spotlight on what people can do, what information they need, are really, sort of raising the bar and getting the kudos from their customers.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think you raise a really important point, and that is your inside voice, the way your employees see you and hear you, has to match what your customers are seeing and hearing in you. And that is something that you do at Red Havas, isn't that right?
Absolutely. Well, every company really ought to have their agency and their communications department work hand in hand. But you're absolutely right. If you're a company and you're talking about how you're contributing to your community, but then you're cutting employee benefits at the same time, there's a disconnect.
Sure.
And if you have to make changes to layoffs or to employee benefits, you just have to be direct about it and candid, both with your employees and your customers. In this round, in this situation, some CEOs like Satya Nadella from Microsoft have actually published their employee communications on their LinkedIn channel to give the external world, insight into directly what are they talking about internally.
That is what we're telling you is what we're telling each other.
Right, and many CEOs have been doing that and really being sure that they are as transparent as possible.
Sure.
With their employees and with their customers and communities about what are they doing for all of their different stakeholders to help contribute and address this, issue facing us.
That is, it's important, because one of the things that we're involved in the work we do is something that's becoming known as stakeholder capitalism, which is, we're not just about our shareholders, we're about the entire community that we serve, whoever they might be. So where on the one hand, you think being direct is the right thing to do because you're being clear with your shareholders that you're going to cut costs. On the other hand, you just sound cruel. And you can't afford to sound cruel or dispassionate about human beings, where people's lives are involved. And helping with that message is what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to think about, how do you bring the humanity and empathy, and the brands that have a clear purpose, that are purpose-driven, have a strong culture. This is the opportunity for them to live their culture. And this is the time that really shows what they're made of. And absolutely, communicating with empathy and humanity is so critical, because ultimately that's what people assess. I mean, I was so impressed with Visa's CEO, Alfred Kelly, who wrote he committed to no COVID-19 related layoffs this year. He said there was too much sadness in the world.
Right.
You have other CEOs. One CEO was interviewing with the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and it's the CEO of Reckitt Bannister, and he talked about living with his mom during the pandemic, and she interrupted one of his Zoom calls and said, "You forgot to take out the trash." So he stopped, and he relayed that And that just shows that, we're all humans and we have to connect. And absolutely, I think people don't want you to sugarcoat the news. They don't want to be, a Pollyanna view. But if you are practical and pragmatic and direct, you earn the respect and you earn the trust and transparency that people will listen. I think that's why Dr. Fauci and Governor Cuomo have been so well regarded and have been looked to.
They never have anything good to say, but you feel better after you hear it from them.
Because at least you're getting sort of an authentic, honest assessment, and they're breaking down the data in a way that we can all understand it.
And the big thing is people really want to be reassured, but they also want to be told directly the facts.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny, in Governor Cuomo's case, I think he's really kind of a classic example of it. He's telling you things that he clearly wishes he didn't have to tell you. There's nothing about this that's making him happy in any way. And he makes that really makes you feel better about the way he's handling it, because this isn't an opportunity for him to become a hero. It's an opportunity for him to serve the people who voted for him.
And he does it in such a calm, confident way that you do feel reassured, because you feel like you can trust the information that he's sharing, and then not creating a panic. But what you don't want to do, and I think for any executive, any one of us, right, we want to be able to we have to have the confidence to say what we know, but also admit what we don't know.
Right.
And caveat what we're saying, because everything we're learning in real time and having to adapt in real time. And so being willing to go out and revise what you're saying based on new data is so important. And not all leaders have the confidence to do that, but those that can show that vulnerability, that are, that can address it, again, in the long term, are building the trust with all of the different audiences that they have to navigate.
And the messenger is just as important as the message in this case.
You have to think about your audience, right? What will resonate with them? Where are they? And how do you, what even the format of the message and the medium? So many people are virtual today, right? We're all working from home. We're sheltering at home. We're consuming more information virtually. So companies can't just, depend on billboards, but people aren't driving.
Right.
So you have to meet them where they are on the media channels and social media channels where your customers are, and engage with them in a way that makes sense.
The good thing about this is, especially talking with you, because you're getting me interested now. This is a difficult time, obviously, for brands, but at the same time, it's a huge opportunity to get out there with a great brand story.
Absolutely. What really sort of warmed my heart, some of the brands that stood out, Walmart with its Lean On Me commercial, and really showing its employees and what they're doing in the community. It's just another reminder of how powerful, Lowe's, everyone thinks of Lowe's because it's, you're doing your home projects.
Sure.
And for them to encourage people to make their own signs, the DIY sign, to thank healthcare workers. And so many brands, even the luxury brands like LVMH that have retooled their fragrance factories to make hand sanitizer, Nike working on how to convert some of their sneaker materials into face shields and other PPE. I mean, so many brands are stepping up and being part of the solution in whatever way they can contribute, whether it's financial support, whether it's in-kind product donations, it's expertise, or even giving their airtime to causes. There's a company in Boston Brewing Company, that was about to launch a new campaign for one of their products, and they're known for their lighthearted advertising, and they felt like it wasn't appropriate at this time. So they partnered with a local foundation to create a fund for displaced restaurant workers and use their advertising, their commercial time, to promote that. So that's just another example of how organizations, companies, brands can use their platforms to, for good, and to, support their community.
Some of the distilleries even doing hand sanitizers, for instance.
Absolutely.
So we have companies out there that are wondering how they can, I hate to say take advantage of a crisis, because you never want it to be that.
No.
But people are rethinking everything now. I mean, you've got a state of flux in the collective human mind of America, of the world, where people are looking for new messaging. I mean, they're really anxious to hear the stories that people have to tell them about how they can help. I might be drawing a blank in my own company coming up with a message like that, and that's why I would call you.
Absolutely. What we do is really help companies get their, communicate what's important to them. How are they translating their mission, their values, into action? How can they support their employees with what their employees need to continue to work? How are they talking to their customers, their suppliers, their investors, or other stakeholders, community partners, and be sure that they have not just are talking, but they're listening and keeping a pulse on, what is important to their employees, what is important to their customers, and how can they take all of that listening and that feedback and use it to apply to their business going forward. Because, it's not just about what they want to say, it's about listening and then responding so they can deliver the right services, the right message, and right support to all of their different audiences.
And all those messages have to be in alignment too.
They absolutely have to be aligned.
So we've got companies out there that are listening to this interview, and they should be paying attention because this is important. Now is the time to get to allow people to get to know you in a very favorable way that when we're out of this, will serve you very well throughout the rest of your life. I mean, really.
Absolutely. I mean, companies have captive audiences because we're at home, we're consuming news much more, we're on social media, we're trying to get information that will help us keep our families safe, to be smarter. Many people are looking for ways they can learn or give back to the community. So now's not the time to be silent, but to use the platforms you have, whether it's your website, your social media channels, your newsletters to customers, to talk about who you are as a company, what you stand for, and what are the things you're doing to help your employees. If you're giving back to your community, reach out through your Chamber of Commerce or other local organizations to find out how you could support what the community needs are, and is there a role that your company can play in your community.
And you join the team at the company and work with them to make sure that their social media marketing strategy is lined up with this new kind of messaging that they want to produce.
Yeah, absolutely. For companies that haven't used social as much, we absolutely could work with them and help them refine their social media strategy. What are the right platforms to be on? How do they get their message across in a way? And more importantly, it's not a one-way conversation on social.
Right.
How do you listen and engage? Because you have to be prepared for that two-way, multi-way dialogue when you're on social media.
And that means when you get feedback that may not be positive feedback, you're going to get all kinds of emotions back. You have to know how to handle that.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a dialogue, and you won't be in a situation where 100% of the people will agree with you. The important thing is to have a plan, and I believe in doing the scenario planning, the what if. So before you engage in social, you should be thinking through what if someone said X, Y, or Z, and have a response grid, have a process for how you're going to internally review and analyze that information and the rules of engagement. The worst thing that any of us can do, whether you're a company or as an individual, is react in the moment. So if you go to type of response, and you wouldn't want to see that on a billboard by your home or on the front page of the New York Times, you should stop and pause.
And you
We
should
have to pause right now
we
for
do
a
need to
break.
take a break. When we come back, though, after this break, I can think of 1,000 questions. We'll have to squeeze them into 10 minutes. We can do this. We'll be back after this.
Stick around.
Great interview.
Yeah.
Linda. Absolutely terrific.
We have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAP Partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want.
I want.
I want a home.
I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
Zoom calls are real important. Well,
Welcome back to CEO Chat. Who are you?
I'm Joe Osamendi.
It's nice to see you, Joe, and I'd shake your hand except.
Well, that's okay.
We're not allowed at the moment, but that'll change
That's
over
okay.
time. And my name is Al Cini, and our guest is Linda Descano, Executive Vice President of Red Havas,
Welcome
which
in.
is part of the Havas Corporation, which is a multinational corporation based in France.
Correct.
But I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I think it's important that we start out by saying if you're a medium-sized company or you don't need to have $1 billion in the bank to call Linda for help.
$500 million. No.
You know, I mean, no, really, it's not. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money to get the kind of advice you need to really get your messaging straight before you get it out there.
Absolutely. We work with organizations of all different sizes, from small businesses up to the global multinationals and across all different industries.
And
as well.
not-for-profits.
And not-for-profits.
Don't
as well.
forget them, because
Yeah.
their messaging is important
Their
too.
messaging, and they're being affected just like any other organization is.
Well, that's so. Give Linda a call. She'll give you the contact information later. Get her on your team, because otherwise, this could be a bad thing for you. I mean, we were talking during the break about some of the mistakes that you can make. You know, the inauthentic messages that you can send out there that just don't ring true. That has to be crafted carefully, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You have to always think about the unintended consequences of your messaging, and make sure you're not being tone deaf to the situation. For example, McDonald's in Brazil did a really interesting thing. They took the interlocking M and put space between it to encourage people for social
Interesting.
distancing,
Really
which was a
interesting.
great idea. However, in other messaging that McDonald's was making, it wasn't viewed very favorably about how they were treating employees, so it created some dissonance. KFC had a 60-second spot running that showed people eating chicken and licking their fingers.
Right.
Again, not sort of appropriate for this time. So
Right.
you have to think through every single touch point and be sure that the message makes sense, because we are all viewing messages through the lens of the pandemic. So that is influencing how we interpret
Right.
what we're seeing and hearing.
Now, we're in an area where we're doing a lot more Zooming. Can you give us some tips on how we can make Zooming the most effective?
Absolutely.
Some things to avoid too.
Yes. First is to practice the platform.
Okay.
So get used to whatever video conference platform you're using. Be sure before you get on, you know what the buttons and how the functionality works. You've set your microphone and your speakers. Second is to set the stage. So be sure you understand what is behind you and around you. You don't want a background that is very distracting. If you're using your home gym, as your home office, be sure there aren't towels and clothes and things just all around. It's a very neat and professional. Third is to groom up, because you may be working from home, but you are still working. So you should present the same professional appearance that you would at the office on your Zoom call. Fourth is to mind your manners, because when you're on video call, people can see you rolling your eyes, looking at different
It's
points.
not a conference call.
You know, fidgeting with your pen. So you really want to be respectful and stay engaged. And the last is, you know, I'm taking advice from my grandma Nina, say what you mean what you say, and that, as a friend of mine always says, adhere to the 3 C's. Be crisp, clear, and concise.
And concise. And maybe there's a 4th C, compassionate these days, because people that are on the phone on your Zoom call with you are in states of stress.
It's such a good point, Al. Not only states of stress, but you know, people are sheltering in place with their partner, their children, which may be small, or their adult children that have come home, their pets. So there will be interruptions. And one of my colleagues had her daughter come and interrupt one because she lost her stuffed animal, and it was an emergency in her daughter's eyes. But you know, you can't get upset about that.
You
You
can't.
just have to let it go. This is all part of our lives right now, and we're all doing the best that we can. In fact, one of the things we do on our all-agency happy hour is people bring their pets and their children sometimes and make them part of the conversation, so that we are reducing that sense that you have to be perfect and everything has to be quiet, and we have to just give each other a break.
That actually, it's a lesson you learn on television, because things don't always work the way you want them to work. And the more upset you look about it, the more you're giving everybody else permission to be upset. And the last thing you want is for an audience to be upset. You want them to feel like, we'll get through this. That's the whole point. If anything derails you, it derails everybody. And I think that's such an important point. And you know, we have a PR person who understands how people react to messaging with us, somebody who's really an expert in this. Sometimes it's the simple things like how you handle your Zoom call, and I think that's really helpful.
You know, I was going to ask you, when you talk about messaging and things like that, I think that the person really has to come across as being sincere in these kind of times. And I think people can see insincerity a mile away.
I agree with you, Joe, and that's why every organization has to think carefully about who will be the face of the organization, you know, with their stakeholders, whether it's employees internally or externally. There are some leaders that may be terrific business leaders, but they're not effective communicators. They don't engender the empathy. They don't have the charisma, and that doesn't help the organization. So part of every organization, you have to think through who is the right person,
Who's the right spokesperson?
and then give them the training that they need to help them and coach them along the way. And that coaching is not a one-time. Even myself, every time I'm appearing, whether it's on a TV segment, a podcast, or public speaking, I go home and diagnose, and what can I do,
What could I
have done differently? How can I be more effective? So you also need to work with someone who's willing to listen to that feedback and then can apply it.
And somebody to be totally objective with you, too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, now's a great time to talk about the Red Havas Rapid Restart Program.
Rapid Recovery Program.
Rapid Recovery Program, because sooner, I don't want to say we're going to be out of this. Who knows how long this is going to last, but it evolves. And at some point, we all have to get back to something that looks like work, whatever that might be, and that's what that program is about.
Right. Well, so many of the organizations we work with are immersed in the here and now of how do they deal with their employee needs and their immediate customer needs, their supply chain issues. So our goal is to help, you know, them, support them in thinking about 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months out, and what could we distill from, you know, all the insights that have, research that has been done in part by our company, by others, you know, at the global, the regional, the local level, about how this experience is changing, you know, our behaviors, our preferences as customers, as employees, as citizens, as community members, and then look at it through the lens of their business. Look at the impact on their industry category, you know, on their company, just on pop culture in general, on their customer base, and then what does that mean not only for their business strategy, but for their communication strategy, and what are the right foundations, what are the right tactics that we need to start planning and building in that listening program, because as you said, Al, this is an evolving area. We're not going from the past normal to a new normal. It's going to be an evolving normal. And so you have to be very agile and nimble and adaptive in your strategy so that you can respond to those pivots.
Got it.
And so that's what we're working with a number of clients to do.
Great. And again, the clients don't have to be huge clients. A couple of $1 million company, if they want to grow, they're going to have to get their brand story straight. And getting their brand story straight, the best you can do, possibly, is to get people who really know how to do that and make them part of your team, and that's what you do.
And really help you grow so you can control the message and shape the message. And as you're growing, your executive team also evolves and they become powerful ambassadors for your brand, and trusted voices that help you shape what's happening, in your community, in your industry.
How do you answer the question that CEOs ask? Like, when is it okay to start selling again? Because at the moment, everybody's afraid to say they charge for anything. But sooner or later, that's going to have to change. Maybe. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I mean, I think right now, people are still looking for, to hear about how companies are contributing to the community and helping get us through this hump. I think you can always talk about your services, but it has to be in a nuanced way and in a respectful way to the community. I mean, people still need to buy goods. They still need to buy groceries. People are still, businesses are buying goods and services, but it's just filtering, what is most appropriate and how can you, bundle your message or contextualize it in a way of what's top of mind today, which again is around the security. I look at, a small business owner that runs a shoe store. What she's doing is telling stories about her shoes. So she's understanding that while she doesn't want to just say, keep buying shoes from me, we have an online store. She's using this to build a relationship.
Talk about the shoes.
And talk about what's inspired her as a shoe designer and as a shoe boutique owner. And in bringing you into the experience while showcasing some of the new models that they have. So you have an experience and a relationship with her. So you have to think about, that's the way to engage people in her brand. And that's the conversation you would have with her if you went into her store.
How about some industries that's really been hit, like the travel industry and the hospitality industry? How can you help them?
I think with travel and hospitality, I mean, certainly what they've been doing in terms of donating flights or hotel rooms for healthcare workers, definitely elevating their mind. Like you, perhaps like me, you get also emails from some of the hospitality companies talking about how they're going to sanitize and increase the cleanliness in the rooms. Some of them are offering virtual experiences. So I think it's how do you just continue to build the relationship and help people understand what you're doing to create a safe environment for them when they start traveling again. And in the meantime, how are they using the resources at their disposal to help the frontline workers and help address some of the issues in their community?
I'm thinking about the restaurant business. There are an awful lot of medium-sized restaurant chains in the area too. And now really is the time for them, even if they can't open yet, they should start describing to people what the experience is going to be like when they can. This is what we're doing to make you safe. This is what we're doing to preserve the experience without putting you at risk.
And to immerse people in what's special about their restaurant offering. And so that's, such an important opportunity. And for those that have been reopening, so many people want to support local business. If anything, this experience has made us very hyper-local.
That is
and
true.
very aware,
true.
Of our community and the struggles of a community and the small businesses and the people employed by those small businesses. And so there's, I think, a strong desire. So, restaurants that can, bring to online, their favorite recipes and what's inspired them in their menu and, engage,
stories about your grandmother.
Right.
I mean, really, a lot of those are such great stories.
Vineyards are doing virtual wine tastings and doing educational things to connect with people who might not visit them for a year because they might be concerned about travel. But that doesn't mean you can't engage. When you're doing virtual wine classes, people are buying your wine, so they have it to do the class with you. So that's it. You're creating an experience. You're giving opportunity for community and engagement.
Okay, we're at that point of the program where we have to tell them how to reach you. And I just want to say, now is the time to call Linda Descano and make her part of your team. This messaging is so important, and now is the right time to get it straight. So, Linda, if you can look in your camera, just tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Yes, you could reach me at linda.descano@redhavas.com or visit us at redhavas.com.
Well, and you better do it, because you really, I can't, I mean, there's something happening and you need to be ahead of it, not behind it. And I think working with an organization like yours, great team, by the way, team of people like the team that works with you, I think that's the secret to staying ahead of this. So.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, Linda, we're going to have you come back, really.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely. You should be
give us
ready.
more information.
If anybody ought to be, if anybody has their finger on the pulse of pop culture, it's Linda Descano. So. Thanks so much for joining us on CEO
My
Chat.
pleasure. Thank you.
And thanks all of you for listening in today. And my name is Al Cini.
I'm Joe Osamendi.
This is a great CEO Chat.
Yes, it is. And be kind to each other and take care of
Take
yourselves.
care of each other and take care of yourselves and stay healthy. Thank you.